And just in time, what is up, you guys? The Auburn Tigers Whoa. Wow, what a performance. Probably, all bullshit aside, probably their best defensive performance of the entire year. And it's very obvious. Listen, South Carolina's a good ball club. Finished in a tie for second place in the SEC. They're going to the big dance. There is no doubt about that. And Auburn beat them by 40 and then beat them by 31 today. So I think it's fair to say that Auburn definitely understands what it takes, how to defeat South Carolina. And there's a reason. There's a specific reason why Auburn can fuck up South Carolina so badly. And here's the reason. South Carolina has really good individual defenders. And if you're going to try to drive them one-on-one, you really can't do it. Auburn certainly can't do it. They don't have that kind of personnel. So what you want to do is you've got to have a team that passes the ball well, a team that understands inside and out what the team is trying to do, a.k.a. Smart players and drilled players and folks who have been around the system for a long time. Auburn's got all that. Auburn's got outstanding passers, and those guys had outstanding days today. I thought Aiden passed the ball really well. Trey passed the ball really well. This might have been the best passing game I have ever seen out of KD. Making really good decisions with the ball, both going to the hole, doing his usual stuff, finishing at the hole, so valorous all the time, but also like passing the ball really well. He had a pass that ended up not being an assist in the first half, a drive down the lane. I need to see the replay. I don't understand how he got the ball out. The ball just squirted out somehow. Like it looked like it came through his shoulder and went over to, I think it was Dylan, who went up and he didn't get the ball in. But I was like, holy shit, that was like some Houdini shit right there. He had a great day passing. Janai had a good day passing. Jalen had a good day passing. What you've got to do to South Carolina is you've got to get them on skates. You got to get them shifting, rotating, and then you attack. You can't just line them up and drive them. And so Auburn's really good at that. And when I remember in practice, I don't talk to you guys about things that are happening in practice. I don't go to the board and talk about it. I'm prohibited from doing so. I'm not sure I would do it anyway. But now that the game's over, I can talk about it. In practice this week, they kept running their stuff, which they don't normally do. What Auburn usually does in practice is they set up certain defensive sets. Oddly, they're named after like East Coast teams all the time, like UConn or Cincinnati. Well, they're not really East Coast, but it's usually like teams like that. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. They usually work on defensive sets. This week they were working more on their own offensive sets. And I remember Stephen Pearl and Burgo and BP obviously talking over and over, guys, you've got to concentrate on our plays and running this shit. Because if you're just going to go out there and run open, they're going to be able to beat us. You've got to run our plays. We've got to move them. And we've got these plays set up just for you guys to mess with them. And they did that today. The execution on the offensive end was really, really good. And as I said at the very beginning, their defensive execution was really good too. It seemed like the overarching concept today was they're not going to get anything easy at the rim. And Dylan 100% got his money's worth when he was fouling at the rim. I thought he moved his feet and was very physical at the rim. I thought Jalen was challenging at the rim. Obviously, Janai was challenging at the rim, but being smart and not getting in foul trouble. Really, I think this was pretty much perfect execution for Auburn again. And, I mean, I would make the argument that their best performance of the season was the South Carolina game the first time inside Nev. This, to me, is probably their second or maybe third best performance of the entire year, again, against South Carolina, this time in Nashville. And I think they were hearing a lot of talk that South Carolina was still hurt about that loss, and now that it was on a neutral court, we'll see how it goes. Well, yeah, we saw how it goes. The Auburn Tigers are just a whole lot better than South Carolina, and that's the facts right there. 86-55 was the final. We've got a bunch of Super Chats coming through that I want to definitely get through. I started the show early, or whatever. Courtney's got me in this mode where she says I got to schedule the shows before I even fire them up. So I did that today. I thought at 5 o'clock we would be good to go. I was a little late getting the stats from the SEC, so I ended up having to start this show just a couple minutes late, and I apologize for that. I think Chip was a little frustrated with that. War Eagle 0008 jumps in with the first Super Chat. Probably Preesh. Thanks for the show, Wardam Eagle. I am here at my house, and I can do... come on, JG. I can do sounds. Thank you for that, sir. always supportive. One of our channel legends. T-Park, another channel legend, says, LFG, JGT in the house. I am here. And I'm glad you're here, brother. Thank you for that. I think Chip said JG is busy with lacy underalls. Aye. That's why I wasn't able to get to you guys before I did. I apologize. I thought I was shooting far enough out where we would be good, but it took a little bit longer than I expected. Whale Driver says, what's the ceiling and floor as far as seeds? Any idea where we might play the first weekend? There's been a lot of talk about West Coast, specifically Spokane, and it seems to me, having just been, I'm old enough to know, just been watching the SEC tournament and NCAA tournament for so long. These experts are more correct than you would think they would be about where Auburn would be or where whatever team's going to be. I would never be able to guess that, but these people have some way to do that. And a lot of the guesses have been West Coast. However, this Auburn team, I think when people were making those assumptions or prognostications, this Auburn team was probably going to be a 4 seed. And I suspect, this is just me talking, that Auburn is playing basketball at a time and got Tennessee eliminated at a time where they're going to get to the final. They got a really good shot to get to the final. And then it's game on. If you beat Kentucky at this point, you've accomplished something. They're playing great basketball. So like Whale Driver was saying, I think the peak for Auburn at this point would be a 2. And at that point, it changes the dynamic about where they might go. I think the floor is probably at this point a 4. And the ceiling's a 2, I think, is kind of what we're looking at right now. Horace from 3 said that, and I completely agree with what you're saying. The dude, Ravin, some of the numbers are crazy. Did you know that South Carolina, in 80 minutes against the Auburn Tigers, now has a total of 13 assists? In 80 minutes, dude. They've got no idea how to pass the ball and get people open against Auburn. And, Auburn gave up 2 buckets tonight off assisted buckets, when they were just kind of dicking around as they were doing the transition into the less guys on the bench and stuff. I mean, sheesh. It was really locked up. They were frozen out for the whole first half. It was a mess. Great question, Whale Driver, and thank you for the super chat, sir. I feel like a stranger who's always here with us. Says, Ward Amigo, much love, Drainer, Swoogans, and Tates, especially Mama Tate. I have not seen her in the last few days, but I suspect she's doing well. Is Bridgestone also the jungle? Asking for USC dude who scored 4 points. This ain't the jungle. Yeah, well, it kind of is, isn't it? I think Stephen Pearl mentioned that, heard about that, and thought that was kind of interesting that they were going to make that parallel and then take a big-ass L in Nashville as well. And there's not much you can say after you lose by 31. And the game really, I mean, let's be real about this. Auburn crushed them. Like, it could have been 50, I think, if Auburn had just kind of paid attention. It's hard, man, when you're killing a team like that. It's hard to just keep pressing the accelerator. You just kind of naturally let off a little bit. Appreciate that. Feel like a stranger. Good stuff. And always thanks for asking about my mom. CJ says early drain. MSU should be skirt. You're right about that. They're not going to be scared. Mississippi State is a tough team, a tough physical team, mentally, generally tough. Had a huge win today, 73-56 over Tennessee in the early game today, which shocked me. I did think they had a chance, but I did not think they would be able to just absolutely run Tennessee out of there. They had a plan for Dalton Connect, and they did what they do. They rebounded, and they attacked the bucket. And you've got to be ready for that challenge when you play Mississippi State. If you go in there just kind of dicking around, they will torment you. Thank you, CJ. I appreciate you jumping in, brother. Also, Steve R. jumps in with an LFG WTE. He's fired up. He's excited that the Auburn Tigers are on to the... Oh, Anonymous, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. The victory chain. We wear the tungsten victory chain every time Auburn wins, which has been a whole hell of a lot. I still can't believe this. We'll be talking about this 25 years from now when, hey, remember that Auburn team that won X number of games and every single one of them was double digits? 25 wins now and all of them were double digits. It's just, it sounds impossible to do, but it actually happened. And we're watching it. Also, Matthew M. asked for me to put the chain on. I'm sorry. How can I forget, bro? How could I have forgotten? I was just so panicked, I guess, getting the show going. Hayden. We love Hayden. Hayden rolled into us before COVID, and he's been a big part of the Brain Drain family ever since, and we love him. He's good people. He says, a thorough beatdown. I loved it. Ward Amigal JG. Appreciate you, my G. Give you a little applause for that, and so glad that we made you a lifetime member of the family there. Just kind of balling, I think, before the COVID and then during COVID, too. So, love seeing you, bro, around. Ravin, fired up as can be. Says, holy hell, beating USC by a combined 71 points this season. Great start, but we got to hit our free throws. That was really kind of the only thing I think you look at this game and you say, coulda, shoulda, woulda done a better job was at the free throw line. Let's bounce over here and take a gander at this. I'm going to start off with our second half box score just to kind of see. This is just from my own entertainment or enlightenment. Just to kind of see how it felt like they were killing him in the second half too. So they go plus 11 on the scoreboard. They still shot like ass, 31% for them. But Auburn was just kind of like not playing super good defense at the end. I mean, just because it was the end, it was just complete mess for them. Auburn goes 0 of 3 from the free throw line, although it's a little misleading. 0 for 2 from Dylan. You'd kind of expect him to go 0 for, and then KD missed 1. To have 3 shot attempts in the half is something that BP is never going to be okay with. But I don't think that was a refereeing problem. I think it was that Auburn just was kind of mid-range shooting, and they're good at that. I mean, you shoot 17 of 34 from the floor in the half. I mean, you're never going to complain about it. So, but it's odd. You got to do more. You got to get yourself in position to shoot more free throws than that, honestly. But, man, you're looking for things to complain about. That might be the only one, I mean, 6 of 12 from 3. You guys have to do the calculations on that. What is that, 11 of 22, 50% from 2 as well, which is a little low for them. But that's fine. I'm not out here fussing us. Matt says, I've only watched South Carolina the 2 times they played us, and I have no idea how they won more than 15 games. I guess that's a testament to how we shut them down. It is absolutely true. I think Auburn has, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Matt, just a specific type of player, type of system that just really flummoxes them. And it's the good news for South Carolina is that not a lot of teams can do the things Auburn does and throw so many competent bodies at you. And while we're talking about that, Simo, I thought he had a terrific game. He finishes with 2 points. Oh, wait, that's it. That's the halftime. He ends up being plus 14 in the half, which is still, it's kind of a small sample size for that kind of thing. But let me bounce this off, and we'll look at the final box here. This is for the whole game. So Simo finishes with 6 points on 3 of 3 shooting. You'll take that all day long. 2 rebounds, whatever. 0 assists, 0 turnovers, 1 steal, plus 17 in 17 minutes. I mean, when Simo is your 10th guy and that's what he's giving you, you're doing well. One thing that kind of sticks out, a lot of times we talk about how as Jalen goes, this team goes. Tonight, Jalen didn't really have a bad game. He just didn't have a big game at all. I think he finished with, 3 points on 1 of 2 shooting, which is not a lot for him to play 20 minutes, 5 boards, 0 assists, 1 turnover, 2 blocks. I mean, he just really wasn't a big factor. But it was fine. I mean, everybody else was doing their thing. Janai was doing his usual, just dragging people. KD was doing his usual valorous drives to the hole and dragging people. And Chaney had a really nice game today. Hit a mid-ranger there in the first half that excited me. Had a 3-point shot that excited me. I had another drive there in the second half that was really nice. Chaney has come along very, very nicely. And he needed time to acclimate for sure coming up from Alabama Huntsville. A big step up in class. But, guys, he's leveled out here. He's become a really nice rotational piece for Auburn, and he definitely belongs at this level. And I would argue he's been one of their 3 or 4 best players in the last, 2 weeks maybe? 3 weeks? He's been good. Aiden, I also thought was good, man. He was being very assertive today, particularly on the defensive end because South Carolina was affecting the rotations such that they were getting their big 6'4" point guard on him, and that's not a good matchup for him physically. But he was fighting. He was fighting with him the whole time. On the scoring end, he was attacking the rim. He actually finished in a 3-man swat attempt. Just kind of went up among the trees and finished coolly. And, man, I thought he played a great game tonight. Trey was solid too. Trey was more of a station-to-station passer, but he got the job done. Kind of looking at his, what do you have, 3 or 4 assists? Trey finished with 4 assists, 0 turnovers. You'll take that all day long from your point guard. 2 of 3 for shooting, 5 points. No big deal. Newman says Chaney is right on schedule, and I couldn't agree more. I know there were some seriously hot takes being spewed in the bunker, on the bunker, back in January or whatever about Chaney, who was not playing well at the time. And it's like, guys, just give him a minute, man. Nobody works harder on this team. No one is more into fitness. No one is more into getting shots up. No one plays with more intensity at practice, before practice. Like, Chaney is the exact guy you want, and it just needed a little more time. And he's going to be, like Andy was saying, here, I'll put this up here on the show, Andy. Good stuff. Chaney is ready to battle to be the premier 4 next season. He is looking really good. You're right. He has made a lot of progress, and I think BP was wise to continue sticking with Chaney, even though he wasn't necessarily deserving of 25 minutes a game earlier in the season. He kept giving it to him, knowing that Chaney was, but just believing in Chaney the player, and certainly believing in Chaney the human being, because he is all in. He's the guy that you want. I'm telling you, if you're the coach, he's the guy you want. He is on time. He gets along with everybody. He works his ass off. He sets an example. He's talkative. He's great. He's positive. Everything you want. Newman says he's packed some more muscle on, certainly since last summer. He's definitely added some good weight, and I'm telling you guys, his thighs and his legs are just so defined and strong. I think he's got great basketball ahead of him, and I mean, he played great today. In fact, I think Mobile Alum had something interesting to ask earlier. Oh, here we go. She had a super chat come through. Hey, JG, epic beatdown it sure was. It was beautiful that it was like, they ain't in the jungle anymore. And it's like, yeah, we'll just, I guess 31 will be okay. We can get by with that. Who wins the next 2 games tonight? I've got Florida and Kentucky. Thank you for, first of all, the super chat and the question. I actually have a bracket page that I can go to here. Looking at the work. I know my font is a little bit big there, but oh well. We got Texas A&M, Kentucky tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm feeling like that's going to be Kentucky pretty easily, 15 to 20 points. Kentucky's been playing great. I think they've won 5 in a row, starting with their win inside Nev. Kind of a reversal of fortune there, right? Usually it's Auburn that's riffing off of Kentucky. Now it's Kentucky riffing off of Auburn a little bit. And then Florida, Alabama. For me, I suspect Florida's going to win that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama did. I'm just a big believer in Todd Golden. And you guys know I talk him up a lot because I know him personally. I love the job he did at San Francisco, and I think he's pulling Florida from the doldrums of mediocrity, and he's really doing a nice job of getting Florida super competitive. They finished a game or 2 behind Auburn this year, but considering where they came from when he took over, they're doing a hell of a job. So I'm saying Kentucky and Florida tomorrow is my prognostication, with Auburn beating Mississippi State in a game that's going to be closer than we probably suspect, maybe single digits. I just think Auburn's playing great basketball. Mississippi State will get its share of wins in that game, though. They are going to do what they do, and they're going to bruise up Auburn pretty good. They bruise up everybody, but I think it's going to be Auburn playing Kentucky for the title on Sunday, is my guess. And if Auburn were to win that game, I think they'd be a 2. If Auburn loses that game, I think they're probably a 3. So that's what you'd be looking at. Bill with a great question. In light of your NBA Jam arcade game, which is behind me, I see many similar Dunkspire guys this year. Who would be Auburn's duo if NBA Jam came about? Interesting idea. Or NCAA Jam. I see what you're saying. Well, I would definitely take Janai as my down low presence because he's got that inside-out game. He would be like my Chris Mullin. In this game with the Warriors, you've got Chris Mullin and Tim Hardaway Sr. I always play with them because I loved Chris Mullin and Timmy Hardaway. So I think it would be Janai as that inside-out guy, and then you'd probably take maybe KD as your shooter. Because he's quick, he's valorous, he finishes at the rim, he gives you some three-point shooting. Denver would also be an interesting idea, but he's just kind of become Denver here in the last couple weeks, so I don't know. Are we there yet? Do we trust Denver yet? He had another good game today. I had a couple nice catch-and-shoot threes, and, man, he's smooth. He also finished at the rim for an and one in the first half, and I was like, okay, I see you. You're not just an outside guy. I got you. I think he might end up being the X factor for this ball club because he can be a combo guard. He could be like a third option handling the ball, and he does well. He spaces well in transition. He's a good trailing three guy. Obviously a great catch-and-shoot three guy. He's really got confidence right now. Gives Auburn another option on the perimeter for teams to think about. I think if he really continues to play this way, I think he's a big reason why Auburn is taking a step forward. I think it really comes down to Aiden and Trey realizing that protecting the ball is the most important thing for them. So Aiden's not taking as many terrible shots. Same with Trey, although Trey's shot selection usually is good with me. You've got Chaney elevating his game, and you've got Denver elevating his game. And to me, that is the big reason why Auburn is playing even better basketball now. They've never really played bad basketball this season, but they're playing really good ball. And I think the emergence of those two players makes a big difference. Huge difference. Stoop Up says, I trust Denver. He's good, dog. He is. I've been waiting on this all year. I know you have too, Stu. I mean, he played like this at Florida International last year, and it's, I know it's a different level, but I've watched him work out, and I know what he can do. And he's, in practice and stuff, he shoots well all the time, but sometimes you got to transition into game environments, and it can be tricky. He's definitely managed that now. He's got it under control. He's doing great. Let's see. Mobile Alum says, I thought the seating for the dance was pretty much set. No, I think it's still variable. I do. Yeah, I still think Auburn can go up and down. I think if they lose tomorrow, they're probably a high 4 or a low 3. I think if they win tomorrow, they're going to be a high 3 or a low 2. And if they win on Sunday, they would be just a solid 2. I don't think they're going to cut into UConn or Houston's action, North Carolina. But they're right there in that next stop, and they may be more deserving as we move forward in March. Let's see. Bo says the KY Jellies are scared of BP and our Tigers. I think the smart Kentucky fans would be right to be scared. Most Kentucky fans are sidewalkers. I can speak on that authoritatively because I am a graduate of University of Kentucky and I lived that life for a full decade. Well, most of a decade in the 90s. I covered UK for 3 years, went to 2 Final Fours with them, and I was a casual fan before that. I know Kentucky fans, and most of them are not scared of Kentucky because they're not scared of anybody. Because they think that Kentucky can go out and beat the Warriors and the Thunder right now. But the truth, the real Kentucky fans know better. That Auburn has had a lot of success against Kentucky lately. So, there you go, Bo. We can make fun of all Kentucky fans, really. I can. I feel like I can get away with it because if they get mad at me, I'll just say, hey, a class of 98, what do you want to say about it? What year did you graduate from Kentucky? Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay, I got you. By the way, my Chancey Pioneers lost last night. 64 games in a row they'd won. Lost in the Final Four, the semifinals to NYU. What they call the Violets is what the team is called, the Violets. I think Chancey scored 2 points in the second quarter. I was like, how can that even happen? Kind of bummed me out yesterday anyway. Moving on. So, yeah, MSU and Auburn tomorrow noon. I kind of like these early games. I think Auburn likes these early games. They typically start doing their video work and everything in their real life all year long around the 1 o'clock hour, noon or 1 o'clock. So I think they're starting to get into basketball mode at that time anyway. So I think they'll do well. It's awesome to see Neil Jones in the chat with us tonight. He is our favorite Welshman, living in Scotland, of course. And this game today was at a time where it's okay. He's able to see that without having to stay up the middle of the night and watch it. So we're glad to have him. Again, he's a dude I party with. Me and J-Dub and Cuz from across the street party with him a bunch. Well, shit, administrative assistant too, in Mexico last summer. And we have adopted him into the Auburn family. And he is all in on Auburn basketball and football, of course. So We're fired up. Feel like a stranger says Trancey lost to NYU Law School. That sucks. It really does. I mean, they just had a better debate team. There's no doubt about it. But, yeah, I remember when I told Stoltze that they were playing NYU. He was like, really? NYU's in that class? Like, everybody, you just figured they'd be a lot bigger school. But because Trancey's like the size of Huntington, guys. I mean, there were 900 or 1,000 kids there when I was school. Maybe it's bigger now. I don't know. I can't imagine it would be, though. I mean, liberal arts schools are not, like, growing these days. Let's see. Anonymous says Scotland equals Wales with Scotch. What do you think about that one, Neil? Is that fair? By the way, I do have bourbon I'm going to drink tonight, and I had a feeling Auburn was going to win this game by a lot, so I got a bottle Eagle Rare. It's unopened. We will open it, and we will just continue to drink it as Auburn progresses through the tournament. You know, we're just taking it game by game, kind of like the way Aaron Savage took it game by game in 2010. You know, he had a fully torn Achilles, but, yeah, day to day. I like when administrative assistant here to open bottles, so I don't have to worry about this. Remember a couple times I've tried to open bottles and I couldn't get the damn thing open? That really sucked. Not going to have that problem today. Drink it from the Peerless glass. No bottom on this. Just kind of like a little glass. I like these, though. Kind of a bitch to clean, but I like to drink from them. So, Eagle Rare. One of my all-time favorites. Kind of hard to find. I refuse to overpay for it. We got this one in Columbus, Georgia for, I think it was $40. Wasn't bad at all. 10 years. Buffalo Trace. Delicious bourbon. Again, don't ever get suckered into paying more than like $50 for this. Don't ever do it. You can find it for less. You should find it for less. It's damn good at $50. It ain't great at $70. CJ has a very interesting point here. He says we should drain through the entire championship game. I've actually considered draining through this game today and then maybe this game tomorrow. I mean, we haven't drained during a basketball game since the Gonzaga loss. Oh, snap. Stu says, Jay, are you getting revenue now? I got 2 commercials right in the middle. Make sure you get your YouTube. Is that right? I've got to, okay, I'm going to write that down. I got to check that. They did some changes where you have to opt out directly, and I didn't see them. I didn't see an option. I mean, I was kind of hustling to get the show started tonight, so I will look for that. We call those mid-rolls, and I will get those eliminated, guys. That's not something I'm cool with. My bad. Auburn Dad for Life says, can you find it in an ABC store, JG? No. I think the only consistent way you're going to find this in the state of Alabama is at the quarterly or monthly allocations. Call me Biscuit. I'm sorry, brother. I will get that fixed, okay? I'll get that. I can't really do it right now, but I'll do it after this for the next show. I have definitely written that down. I'm circling it. Sorry about that. We've got that established that the ads were running. I'm sorry, guys. So, yeah, I was thinking about, can we drain during a game? I mean, we can, but I can't do play-by-play because it's like it moves too fast, and I'm you guys are like, I think 30 seconds behind me, and it just gets all disjointed. But we can talk about like more general concepts about what they're running, what they're looking like, who's playing well, that kind of thing. It might be worth it. I don't know. I just figure a lot of us would be watching the game. I'm watching the game and listening to Andy and I was going to say Coach Sonny. Today it was Coach Randall. Eagle Rare to you guys, and also the Auburn Tigers who just shithoused South Carolina again. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Oh, it looks like Andy's not upset about it, though. He says, yeah, we hope you get paid, JGT. Appreciate you, bro. Stu Pup says, halftime drain? Interesting. Can we do like a 10-minuter? Or were you advocating like just picking up at halftime and going on through? Could be interesting. I'm open to it, really. If you guys are open to it, I just feel like you guys would watch the game. Don't want to hear me rambling on and on and on. I don't know. Let's see. Pocket says, maybe come into the 10-minute mark and say a few things, then at halftime and at 10 minutes left in the second half and for the last minute, leave the chat open all the time, something like that. Okay. Maybe we can do that, yeah. We can just kind of leave it up. Maybe I go off camera for in between those, and we just kind of leave it up. Maybe I update the scores every now and then and post up the stats or something. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, Kanuman, I know, man. The drains did not work well when we were doing them back. I don't know when was that, 4 years ago, 3 years ago? Horace says, miss Coach Sonny today. I have gotten to where I like Randall. I like Coach Sonny's a GOAT. I mean, he should honestly be in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, but I've gotten to where I like Coach Randall too. He has some interesting stuff that he passes along. I do feel like Sonny, obviously he's getting up there in age. His color analysis now tends to be less detailed than it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and he gets a little, well, Pat Adams has missed 5 calls now. I could see that from Roan Mountain. He gets a little, I don't know. I don't really know what that word would be. Just like a little bit less detailed, I guess. And yeah, I'm not ragging on him, though. I love Coach Sonny. Flat Picking says, it's bad when the announcers say that South Carolina is really hoping not to have Auburn in their NCAA bracket. Yeah, I think they'd really like to avoid it. And I'm certain that teams that play South Carolina in the NCAA tournament, because they're definitely going to be in, are going to be looking at Auburn. For sure. I am also, this is something we don't talk about very much, but Todd Golden, of course, we do talk about this part a lot, that he coached at Auburn. He was an assistant coach under Pearl for, I think, 3 years. Went to University of San Francisco as assistant, took over when that head coach left, and then did a great job at San Francisco, and then came to Florida. Todd and Steven are like really, really good friends in real life. And BP and Todd have a great relationship. BP brought him here. BP really kind of catapulted his career. And Todd did a lot of work. It wasn't like BP gave him anything. He gave him an opportunity. There's a lot of communication that goes on between Todd Golden and the Auburn staff, or the Florida staff and the Auburn staff. So I can guarantee you that Auburn's given Todd Golden a lot of tips, if there are tips to be gleaned for this Alabama game. Those two teams, those two programs are pretty close, Florida and Auburn. And there's going to come a day, I think, soon, when Florida and Auburn end up both being heavyweights in this league. Auburn's already a heavyweight. I think Florida's getting there. And it will be interesting for me to see the dynamic that breaks down there and how it kind of goes. CJ, we got that established, my G. I will get that cut off. I did not realize they were going to be doing that. That was something that they changed, and I have to opt out of it. And obviously I did not. But I will. I'll look really quick to see if there's something here that I can. Okay, I hit. It gives me the option of pausing ads, but it only pauses them for 10 minutes. So there will be no ads for the next 10 minutes. Maybe in 10 minutes I'll have to re-hit it or something. I'm sorry about that. Number 19 says, "Get you block, you scrub." Let's see what Gooseflat had to say. Gooseflat jumped over on our Bourbon show last night, and I appreciated the questions, my G. JGT with Tennessee falling. Say we either make the finals or win it. Does that make our NCAA seed go up where we could go seed-wise? Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about how, with Tennessee tripping today and then Auburn remaining strong and has the potential to finish very strong here, how that kind of has a seesaw effect on Tennessee and Auburn. I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, Tennessee's floor to me is a 3, and they may have, I don't know. Can Auburn and Tennessee both be 2s? I guess there's a world where that could happen. Andy D says, BMAC call with a breakdown of the Vandy series this weekend. He's definitely going to be keeping an eye on that. Of course, Auburn baseball up in Nashville playing Vanderbilt this weekend, which I think is going to be a really nice test for them. They played pretty damn well, Auburn Tigers have so far, but we'll see if their pitching can hold up against a very good Vanderbilt team. I don't think they're quite as good as they've been, or at least as good as they were maybe 3 years ago, but I think they're still pretty damn good. War Eagle 0008 says Tennessee is a 2 lock. We have a 3 ceiling. I disagree. I think if Auburn wins this tournament, they're going to get into the 2s, but no disrespect to your take on that, and you might be right. I am not the expert when it comes to NCAA seeding. I'm definitely not a bracketologist, professional nor amateur. Let's see. Melee says Tennessee's job was to get to triple overtime, then lose, and they failed. By the way, I did promise you guys this, and I meant it when I said it. Jay Head, the legend himself, we worked it out several days ago that he was going to be on the show today, and probably going to be on the show moving forward as we progress through the SEC tournament and presumably the NCAAs as well. That he was going to join us and be part of the show. So I'm going to holler at him. We have not spoken to him on the horn in a minute. Looks like it's been almost a month. Although I text with him fairly often, so we will jump on here and get him here on the show. See what we can do.
JGT, what's going on, my man?
What's up, J-Head? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm actually going through a drive-through right about now, so if you hear some interference, I promise you I won't get distracted. I'm just handing my credit card and moving on.
Hey, man, what about this game today? Auburn with another thrashing of South Carolina, huh?
Really impressive showing by a team that, South Carolina is a team that really plays within itself. They do a fantastic job of knowing who they are and playing with a certain level of physicality. And Auburn, for all intents and purposes, they're a matchup nightmare for them, man. They really are, with the way Bruce is able to put defensive sets in place. The way they space, the way they can match South Carolina's physicality. It just, we had it all working today. And I thought the best part of the game was how they valued possessions in the first half. Really reversed the basketball, got nice open looks, and forced paint touches. I mean, just consistently went back and back and back to paint touches and took advantage of where Janai Broome is just dominant in a game like this. Now, you didn't get the game from Jalen that you typically wanted, but I thought Chaney Johnson took a nice step forward. Katie Johnson was good energy off the bench. Denver gave you some good shots. And then obviously, to me, probably point guard play, which is the thing I worried about most moving into the tournament. As you get into March, point guard play is what drives your team. And getting 15 points and 5 assists or 6 assists from your point guard position between Aiden and Trey was huge today.
Huge.
But, yeah, really impressed overall, Jay.
Yeah, they played a really nice game today. What really stuck out to you on the defensive end? Because they held them to, at the end of the day, 28% shooting. But, man, it was lower than that for most of the game. I think with 6 minutes to go, they were still shooting under 23%. What did you see Auburn doing?
So, to me, it looked like, they just did really good communicating with one another. They did a great job of switching when they needed to. The physicality was there. I think you called it earlier on the show. I've been listening along. But even the guards, when they got mismatched on the post, they didn't give up ground as much as you would anticipate. Watching Chaney take on Mack that one time where he wasn't going to give up an absolute inch. They ended up, I think there was a foul called on that play. But it just showed that Auburn was up to the challenge and they weren't about to be big boyed in Nashville. They were there to play. They were there to set the tone. And they really stayed up in there, man. So a great presence defensively, particularly in the first half. I thought in the second half what you saw a lot of is South Carolina they were down. So some of the momentum was out for them. But two, they looked a little bit gassed to me. I think playing the day before started to take its toll, and you saw Auburn roll a 10-man rotation, and they didn't drop a lick today. Mm-mm. Not from 1 to 10. They were able to rotate everybody in, get production up and down the bench on both sides. So you see Auburn's depth playing to its favor this time of the year. It's why BP stuck with that rotation even when people questioned it. And I think you're going to see it pay off. And it's really going to pay off in the SEC tournament where you play back to back to back. In March Madness, you kind of get a day in between, when you get to the NCAA tournament. But the SEC tournament, you don't get a break. So you're going to see Auburn probably have the advantage against Mississippi State. And then we'll see who you play in the championship game if we're able to get past them.
Yeah, what do you think about Mississippi State? That's a team that did beat Auburn in Starkville by 6, I believe. They're very physical. They love to rebound. They're going to bruise you up. Do you feel like Auburn's kind of figured out what to do? Because Auburn beat them pretty handily inside the Nev.
I think they know what to do. The question is, so a team like Mississippi State, that physicality can sometimes bother you from a mental standpoint. I think they know how to attack it. I'm going to be honest with you. You're a 90s basketball guy just like I am, particularly from the NBA side of it. I mean, they play like the New York Knicks back in the day. I mean, the little point guard Hubbard reminds me of
John Starks. Yes, sir.
Yep. Got some John Starks to him. So they're a tough team. They're well coached. I think a lot of Mississippi State's coach. He was, for those that don't know, when Auburn went on its Final Four run, he was actually coaching at New Mexico State and probably played Auburn as well as anyone until we got matched up against Virginia.
That's true.
He's done a fantastic job. But I think we have the skill to overcome that. You've also got another day of rest on them. We should be able to win that game. But again, what Mississippi State does to Auburn is they get in their head a little bit. You saw Chad get frustrated in that game we played in the Nev, where he lost his cool a little bit. You saw K.D. Johnson lose his cool a little bit today, even though that was the spark this team needed. You can't do that against Mississippi State. They feed off those kind of things. So keep your composure, play up to your skill set, and handle business. And I think they will. But, like I said, you got to keep your head. It's tournament time. Everything's at stake. If you can value possessions like you did in the first half against State, I think we win this one going away.
Do you think they can move their seed up? Let's say Auburn were to win this tournament. Do you think that bumps them up to? Can they get in the 2 range? Are they stuck at a 3? Where do you think they're at?
I think because of where they are in the national seeding, Jay, by most projections, they're somewhere around 13, 14 is what I've seen from an actual national seed, so well within the top 16. But can they jump all the way into the top 8? That's what I don't know. I mean, a win against Kentucky would go a huge way towards doing that. But can you get two SEC teams between them and Tennessee in the top 8? That's going to be tough. It'll be interesting to see how much they put on the SEC tournament by comparison to regular season play. I tend to believe probably the highest we're going to be able to go is a 3, which is fine by me. But I think there's a chance for the 2. It just all depends on how much stock they put in the net, how much they're putting into other metrics, how much have they already, predetermined at this point, because, they have to do some advanced seeding. So it'll be an interesting dynamic. I tend to say 3, but I don't think it's completely, closing shut that you can't get to a 2. I have some hesitation about saying, yeah, for sure you can get there.
I'd love to see it.
No, of course.
Get you a better matchup there. Yeah.
Significantly better matchup, and it would be kind of an opportunity for Auburn to right the ship somewhat. We were a 2 seed a couple years back, and they really played a terrible game against Miami, where they took advantage and put us in some uncomfortable positions with the way they like to play man-to-man defense. But this team just feels different, Jay. They're playing better basketball this time of the year than that Jabari team was. They seem to know who they are more so. Now, Jabari was a superstar, but this team is significantly deeper. The guard play has been better, and they have more shooters. So it's going to be – this team has the best chance, in my opinion, to make the second week of the tournament we've had since the Final Four squad. And maybe that Samir team in 2020 would have had the COVID, obviously COVID not happened. I think they had a shot at it, but this team is well suited to play into that second week yet.
Be awesome. They need to do that because it's been a while.
I think so too.
I mean, the Final Four team's 5 years ago, bro.
I know, and it feels like it was just yesterday.
I
mean, I can feel like it was you and Ben Wolk covering, the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Wolk's at a whole different network now, right?
Yeah, he does. He works over at the Georgia 24/7 site, but we still love him.
As you should. You can't not love the man bun, right?
He was in Nashville, and people would just drive by and go, "Man bun," and just scream at him, and it's just like, what? Hey, let me ask you about football a little bit. I've got this sneaky suspicion, my G, that Alvin Henderson's going to commit soon. Well, he said on his social media he's going to commit soon, but I think he's going to commit to the Auburn Tigers. What do you think about that?
I think you could be right. From my sourcing, I asked around today. I have some connections as it pertains to Elba, Alabama. All I got back, top 3, Auburn, Florida State, Miami. He released a top 5 today, I believe, by Hayes Fawcett. I wouldn't imagine it to be anybody outside that top 3. And with him being in Auburn this weekend, you have to like their chances. Now, Alvin's a kid that he plays the game a significant amount. He really enjoys the recruiting process. He's a talented prospect. He's a blue chipper, no doubt. But I like the way this is trending for Auburn at the moment. He's in town, and I think Hugh Freeze is if there's ever been a coach at Auburn, to me, that understands perception, particularly from the recruiting side of things, it's Hugh. And so you've been on a little bit of a streak where you've lost some guys. Well, what do? They bring Tavares Dice to town, big 4-star offensive lineman who's been trending with us for a while now, but some other people have gotten their foot in the door somewhat, particularly Florida State. And what does he do? He slams the door shut, gets a big commitment, and starts to flip that momentum. And like my man Jeffrey Lee used to tell me, nothing sells hope and despair in the same day like recruiting, and Auburn is definitely on the hope side right now. You get a commitment from Alvin Henderson that's only pushing that much further forward.
Yeah, he's an absolute stud. Thoughts, I guess, quickly on TJ Dice committing yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. The days run into each other from me, J-Head.
No, you're good, buddy. It's a big need in this class. Auburn's looking to take anywhere between 5 to 6 offensive linemen in this class. Tavares Dice is a guy that just went to the Under Armour Atlanta camp, really played well, probably even outplayed Micah DeBose. Not probably, did outplay Micah DeBose, who's the heralded in-state prospect. But a guy that shows you the versatility to be able to play at the tackle, and I think he's got legitimate tackle feet. He's got a frame that would also lend to him being able to play inside somewhat. I think he's only in the 6'4.5", 6'5"-ish range, but really good length, good feet, gets him to his pass set very quickly, good natural strength. I think he's up to 292 pounds now. But when you have the need that you have, and he's a blue chipper, and it's Langston Hughes, you got to go ahead and close the door on that kind of kid. It's like recruiting Thompson in Alabama. You just need to get a foothold there. And I think between him and T-Love, you're starting to, develop a little bit of a pipeline there, and I would love to see us kick the door down and get a few more. But, Pat Dye would just love the makeup of this class right now. I mean, it's 4 guys from Georgia, 4 guys from Alabama. All the guys are tough, physical. It's a lot of emphasis on the line of scrimmage right now, and a couple of mid-skill guys and 2 tight ends that I think are undervalued. So another big pickup for Hugh Freeze, and I love the way they're putting this class together. It's very thoughtful at this point. I think it's addressing needs. And if you can get Alvin Henderson this weekend, that would be a really nice cherry on top, because you're going to need 2 running backs in this class, being that you're going to be losing 2 guys that are coming into their senior year this year.
For sure. J-Head, you promised me you'd be on. You've been on. You're awesome. I hope I can keep you coming when we'll keep you coming on the show as Auburn progresses through this tournament. What do you think?
Oh, it's a guarantee. You listen, every time Auburn plays, you just give me a phone call, brother, and I'll make sure I'm okay.
All right, brother. I will see you, and thank you for being a man of your word.
No, thank you, Jay. I appreciate you. Thank you again for having me on the platform. Please tell the administrative assistant I said hello, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.
All right, see you, man. Bye.
See you, buddy. Bye.
What a stud that guy is. How would I rate the quality of this call? 5 freaking stars, no question about it. Got some super chats while J-Head was on the air, and we very much appreciate him. I kept it a little shorter because I think we might be talking to him a few times this weekend. I don't want to be 20 minutes every time because I feel like I'd be hogging his time. And plus, he had food waiting. He said he was on the drive-thru. Mobile Alum had a super chat, came through right as we got on the horn with him, and I got one from Matt as well. Mobile Alum says, thoughts on the bizarre second chance question to Durkin by the Bama writer. So I was talking to Vontrell at the time that was going on, so I kind of heard about it secondhand. But it was, I don't know, it was kind of a sniper situation. It was, I think it was Casagrande that asked that question, I believe. And so I guess they're down a reporter. Usually they have 2 reporters that cover Auburn for AL.com. Ainsley's one of them, and she was there, so it wasn't her. And then the other guy, I don't remember his name, but he wasn't there. So maybe this guy was kind of like substituting. And it just seemed like he was almost there to ask that question. I think the line of questioning is fair. I thought the wording on that was a little clumsy, but look, man, Casagrande's been a reporter for a long time, and I'm not out here trying to tell people that are experienced how to do their jobs. So it's not the way I would have asked the question, but I'm also weird. I ask weird questions and I phrase them maybe unnecessarily in an unnecessarily friendly way. This is just kind of who I am. I think in the 90s I asked some tough questions, but these days, I don't know. It's a little different. I try to be careful with the way I ask questions, and Jason Caldwell, who works for one of the competitors at Auburn 24/7, but he does a really good job with that, and BMAT's been doing this a long time. He does a great job with that, so I don't know. I don't think you have to come in and lower the anvil, so to speak, but some people feel like that's appropriate, and I'm not saying they're right or they're wrong. James Crapia used to do that a bunch here, and he's a great guy. He's a really, really good dude. I didn't necessarily agree with the way that he asked questions, but, there's just different ways. I wouldn't have asked it that way. And I probably wouldn't have even asked that question because to me it was a while ago, but the situation in question. But it does kind of linger. Great question, Mobile Lemon. Thank you for the super chat. Also had a super chat come through from Matt N., who's been a big part of the, always been chatting with us, and I appreciate the super chat. Thanks for the bourbon suggestions the other night. Got the Russell's Reserve Single Barrel. That is a winning choice right there. The damn Peerless Small Batch was $105 at the ABC store. It should be $80. Well, I mean, it should be $50, but typically I see that at $80. So for me, I would not pay more than $80, and I'm glad that you passed on that. I'm glad you passed it. That's too much. I love Peerless, but I wouldn't pay that. So good choice. Russell's Reserve Single Barrel is always good in that $45 to $50 range, might be even $55. Wouldn't pay a penny over $55 for it, but it's a really good one. I'm drinking the Eagle Rare tonight. Again, if you ever see this, Matt, it's good. Just don't pay more than $55 for it, no matter what. You can't even see it. I'm holding it up, and you can't even see it. It's a good one. It's a good, smooth, solid, well-behaved bourbon. I've had better. I've had a lot worse. Super chat also coming through from Crocky Poo, whose opinion I trust explicitly on all these kinds of things. Says conference tourney rarely affects seeding historically. First game, i.e. round 3, is about it, meaning if you trip on your dick in the first game, that can affect things. But if you win that first game and you get through that first hoop, he's saying really not much of an effect. And I believe Crocky Poo on that. I don't necessarily pay super close attention to that kind of stuff. So if Crocky Poo says it, by God, I believe it. I'd appreciate you super chatting, bro, to let me know that. Cassidy P says, what up, Swoogans? I like our odds against Chris Jans, a.k.a. homeless yet studious Ted Cruz. Hadn't thought about that. What's our key to a W tomorrow? Offensive boards. Yeah, absolutely, it's going to be rebounding, and it's going to be finishing through contact, and it's going to be always paying attention on the defensive end as far as blocking out and knowing where your guy is when the shot goes up. In Starkville, Auburn did a poor job of that. Still kind of early in the season. I felt like in the Nev, Mississippi State came in with the same approach, and Auburn was just a little bit better at that. Auburn shot well in that game, too, and shot particularly well in the first half. So you just got to have a different mindset. And Auburn is not a rough-and-tumble team. That's not the default setting for Auburn. Auburn's kind of a finesse team. I think in a perfect world, Auburn kind of does what it did today in the perfect world. Use defense, use deflections, hands in passing lanes, get balls deflected, use your defense to instigate the offense, transition, boom, 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 because Auburn spaces well in transition. They've got trailing shooters. They've got rim finishers. They've got rim runners. They're made to run. So if they can get out and do that, all the better. And Mississippi State does not want to do that. And Mississippi State's going to do things to slow the game down. And I think Auburn at this point is going to be trying to push tempo. So that's what I see. Also, former UK Wildcat, Scott Padgett is on the staff there. Former Samford head coach, Scott Padgett is on the staff there. Wish I was dapping up with him, by the way. I covered him at UK. He was pretty close to my age, actually, at the time. And I covered his wife, who was a volleyball player at Auburn named Cynthia. But I'm going to be here at the headquarters streaming. Bophades How says, yes, sir, live drain tomorrow. If you're on board, Bophades, I'm on board. See, Big Mo, I was asking earlier about the joke. He said, Jay, that's all they talked about when Stidham played at Auburn. that he's from Texas. And also when Liberty played, all they could talk about was how Malik played at Auburn. Okay, I got you. It's like just the right down the middle statement. I got you. Mobile alum confirms it was Casagrande. I had a feeling it was. I was surprised to see him there. It's fine. I mean, I wasn't like mad. I talked to him a little bit, but he's a Western Kentucky grad, and I'm a UK grad, so we have kind of a rivalry there. Cassidy pieces. Scott Padgett got out a damn dagger against the Dukies in Tampa on the way to the 98 title. I was there. I covered UK versus Duke in the South Regional Final in the not even open yet. It was the baseball stadium. I don't know, Tropicana in St. Pete. It wasn't even open yet. It shouldn't have been opened. It was still under construction, I swear. But covered the game there. Duke was up, 12-ish with about 10 minutes to go. And Wojciechowski slapped the floor in front of Wayne Turner. And Wayne Turner goes, "The fuck is this?" And then UK won. And then when I was walking to the interviews, to the formal interviews, I heard crying in the walkway leading to the interview room. And I was like, "Who's that?" And I pulled the curtain back, and it was Wojo crying with Trajan Langdon, like, trying to comfort him. And I was like, "Let me stand under you and taste your tears, you little bitches." Not Trajan, he was fine, but Wojciechowski. And then when he showed up in San Antonio at the Final Four, we screaming at him, "Wojo." Probably not my most professional moment, but I really wasn't a pro yet, so I wasn't getting paid, so whatever. Let's see. Stoop Up thinks it's my cadence. Talking about asking questions of people and doing it the right way. It's your cadence, Jay. We all have our cadence. Good guys find the correct cadence to get a proper response. I do think people mock me for the way I ask questions, but I also don't like a lot of the. Don't like. It's not the right word. I think there's in your average interview, I think there's too much bullshit being discussed. Like, it's just too banal. Like, what are you up to? What's your weight? Actually, I don't mind those as much. I don't care, but whatever, that's fine. But it's like, when Peyton has a good game against fucking LSU or whatever, you say, "How comfortable were you?" Well, obviously he was comfortable. He threw the fucking ball well. Or if you ask a kid, like, "What does this win mean?" and he answers you, I guarantee you somebody's going to ask that same question 3 more times. And it's like, we've already gotten this established. It means a lot to him. Like, that's what we expected him to say. So I always try to ask different questions. Like when Von Trell mentioned the other day that he had been adopted by a guy. Like, I immediately was like, "Oh, I want to know more about that." Now, I didn't ask him about it on camera because I don't know. It just didn't really feel like a non sequitur. But I got the story on what happened with how Von Trell, why he got adopted and how he got adopted and why he added that to his name and all that kind of stuff, and who Jamal is, who's his stepfather. No, his father. Sorry. It's a very cool story, and I added it into my piece that I wrote for the site the other day, but that stuff interests me a whole lot more than ask him one question about Jeremy Garrett and ask him one question about, do you miss him, and just fucking move on, That's why I wish I could just do every interview with just me and Jason, or me and B-Matt and Jason, because I feel like he gets to the fucking point, But I think some of the younger reporters, and I'm not naming names, and maybe I'm wrong, but they just ask these roundabout questions, and I'm just like, fucking A. Justin Ferguson does a great job with that. Justin does not do that. Justin asks, he gets on with it, and I appreciate him for that. He's good like that. Remnant says, "Hey, Jay, I used to get up early Sunday morning so I could read your articles." Well, thank you. I used to write for a newspaper once upon a time, and I'm glad you had a chance to read that. I'm glad somebody was reading it. We didn't get a lot of feedback back in those days. Let's see. Cats DP super chat us again, says, "How do we prevent MSU's Frosh from going off?" I would just say, be physical with him and pay attention to what he's doing. Pay attention to what he's doing. That sounds like a simple thing, and say, "Hey, of course they're paying attention." Well, not necessarily. This team can get a little wayward mentally. They're not dumb at all. They just kind of get into a hooping thing. Like, we're just going to start hooping. Just hooping. And you can't. Some teams you can do that. Georgia, you can kind of do that. Missouri, you can kind of do that. But South Carolina is one you can't do that. And Mississippi State, to me, is one you can't do that, particularly when you're on defensive end, because they will offensive rebound you into oblivion, and that's what happened in Starkville. They didn't have that huge advantage inside the Nev, so tomorrow they're just going to have to be vigilant mentally, and it's something that BP and Ira and Corey and Burgo and Chad and Ian are all going to be pushing. Please, got to do that. Call Me Biscuit says, tell Bert and Shannon hello. They are first-time drainers. We love first-time drainers, Bert and Shannon. Thanks for tuning into the show tonight. And your friend Call Me Biscuit is an absolute legend. He's a pillar of the community, I would say. And we're glad to have him as part of our family. Matt says the Auburn Tigers are now up 1-0 on the Vanderbilt Commodores with Ike Irish causing problems. Ike Irish, an outstanding player who has a great stick. And he's also a pretty good catcher. He can also play first base, various things. Good dude. Like him. Thanks for the update there. By the way, speaking of that, I got to get B-Man on the horn. He said he was ready to go. I guess some folks were asking, why was Casagrande there? I was trying to explain. I think it's maybe that other dude is either sick. I don't remember his name. I don't know as though I met him. The dude that's like thin and has the dark hair. I don't know. He wasn't there, and so I don't know if he's left for another job or if he's sick or whatever. So Casagrande was kind of pinch hitting. Let's see. Caleb says softball has been postponed for tonight. Auburn playing at home, opening its home conference sked tonight, and that game's going to be pushed until the morning. It's been kind of wet around here, and it seems like it's always threatening to rain. It's been like this for like a day and a half now. No, I guess a full day now, yeah. There was something else. Let's see. Stu Pup says, I like how you ask things, Jay. I mean, how many times can a reporter ask, what did you see out there? I mean, come on. I know, dude. I know. Like, it just gets circular. I think it's a skill, maybe. And maybe it's just because I've been doing this almost 30 years now. God, that's scary to think about. But in the beginning, I literally would go to interviews with a list of questions. I don't have my reporter notebook near me, but I would have a reporter's notebook, and I would have like these questions, and I would just kind of, work my way down the list. I don't do that anymore because I try to take each interview and just go where it goes. Like, if Ontrell starts talking about, because he's going to say things in his answers that are going to intrigue me as a reporter, He's going to make a statement about Jason Jones and how Jason Jones isn't always mentally into something, I'm like, oh, shit, we need to talk about that. I didn't know that. I learned that yesterday. Or about him being adopted. I didn't know that. I learned about that yesterday. His mom died when he was 13 years old. And I mean, that's traumatic as hell. And he tried to go down and live with his dad in Florida, and that didn't work out, so he had to go back to Chicago. Can you imagine? Like, that's hard to do. I know some of you have probably done that, but I haven't, and I can't imagine the complexity of doing that. Of changing those relationships, of changing your geographic zone when you're a teenager. Jesus, that's tough, man. It's really tough. And I think people that overcome things like that are tougher than me. And they're just, he's a tough individual. Vontrell is really a joyous person. And whether or not he's going to end up being a great assistant coach at Auburn is to be determined. But I think I understand why Hugh would have this guy around and keep him around, because he's the kind of human being you want working for you. Knuman, very astute here with this observation. I don't know if it's true, but he says that you ask questions like a columnist and not a beat writer. That's a big compliment. Maybe it's just because I always want to be like Chuck Culpepper, the outstanding columnist for the Washington Post, who, when I was a student at Kentucky, was actually the columnist for the Lexington Herald-Leader. And I was around him a lot, and I read his stuff every day and learned a lot from Chuck. I wish that I was as good as Chuck. Maybe someday. Hayes jumps in and says, CBM with an off shooting day, 3 of 8. Need him to splash some tomorrow. We need to get a sound bite for that. Splash. Chris Smoove, who is a YouTuber, usually does basketball stuff, but he also used to do Call of Duty. He had a great sound. He would go, splash. He'd have like a voice box would do it. Maybe I need to steal that from him and play it as an homage to him. I love Chris Smoove, by the way. Let's see. Solo Tigre says, kin to Larry Culpepper. I don't believe so. Chuck's from Virginia, a graduate of University of Virginia, but we don't hold it against him. He is, to me, the greatest living American columnist, And not a lot of people know who he is just because he likes it that way. He's not someone that toots his own horn. But he is an absolute genius when it comes to writing. He does a lot of takeouts for the Washington Post. He also wrote a book about becoming a fan of the Portsmouth Football Club in the south part of the country of England. His year doing that and going to the games and all of the things that pertain to that. It was he made that into a book, and it was brilliant. CJ says, I can get that for you, Jay, the soundbite. Would you really do that? If you could do that, that would be amazing. He used to do it a lot. I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch his 2K stuff because I don't want to play 2K. But when he used to do Call of Duty, this is probably 8 years ago, 10 years ago. But he would get in the chopper. He'd call it the ass clapper. And he would start doing that when he would kill like 10 people in 10 seconds. He'd say, ooh, there's a splash. Splash. Let's see. Cassidy P. Thank you for this question. We got to get to BMAT, though. He says, speaking of columnists, reporters, and the like, who is on your Mount Rushmore? JGT. No, Pat 40. No, it's not Pat 40. I do think Pat 40 is really good, but I understand why you guys hate him. He's kind of that dude that's asking the tough questions all the time, you know. Obviously, Chuck Culpepper, who I think's the GOAT. There's a guy who's retired now, but was really important to me when I was younger, a guy named TJ Simers. You guys probably saw him on those early, I don't know what they call it on ESPN, when they have like the 4 people and they try to give hot takes, and you get like Max Kellerman would give him a point or whatever. I think TJ was on there a lot. TJ was such a hilarious columnist. He would just do these random columns about, and he'd have all these people in his life, like his son-in-law. He called him the grocery store bagger, and he would just like rag on the kid and shit. It was so funny. So TJ Simers for me, Bill Plaschke, who writes sports for the LA Times, J.A., who used to work for LA Times. I think he's moved on now. Would be on the Mount Rushmore for me. John Clay, who writes for the Lexington Herald-Leader, covers Kentucky, is my mentor. Dave Jones, who covers Penn State for the Harrisburg Patriot News, is my mentor. And Chris Lowe from ESPN, those are my mentors. So those are guys that I would consider on the Mount Rushmore. I love all 3 of those guys, and I owe my career to them. Other reporters that I think are amazing. Shoot, there's probably more. I don't know. Those people for sure, though. Just trying to think. I met some of them when I was when I was covering the Final Fours back in the 90s. I got to sit at a table with Mitch Albom, Kevin Blackistone, Bill Roden, J.A., the guy who wrote, no, I said Mitch Albom already. Yeah, Tuesdays with Maury, I was going to say. I sat in that group. I mean, I didn't know who they were. I sat down. Buck 50 knows. Chris Smoove is waiting on a noob. I'm so glad y'all watch him. He has brought me a lot of joy in my life. He is really funny. I still think of some of the things that he says when I see things happen in my own life, you know? And if I do something, I'm like, splash. All right, let's get BMAT on. I'm sorry, guys. I get carried away. You guys are so good in the chat. You guys entertain me. And we can always find a way to riff off something that you guys have said or something you brought up. I appreciate that. You guys are amazing like that. Just super, super good. Okay, I need to get BMAT. BMAT, where are you at, BMAT? There he is. Let's get him on the horn here. He's probably balls deep in this Vanderbilt game, but we can break him away for a minute.
What up?
What up, B-Matt?
Watching a little baseball. What you doing?
Yeah, are they up 1-0 right now?
They are. And Chase Alsop made it out the first out, giving up a run. So that's good news for Auburn.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good. Thoughts on this basketball game today? Auburn pretty much shit all over South Carolina again, eh?
How about that? I mean, they are playing so good right now. Going in, I felt like, okay, the key is to get through the first 8 to 10 minutes, right? Don't let South Carolina get hot and get on a run. And Auburn did that. They went out and played great defense. You know, they weren't clicking. And then, you know, they've been on that, what was it, a 13-0 run midway through the first half, finished on like a 13-1 or 12-1 run, whatever it was at the end of the first half, and just basically put them away. And The best thing about that win for Auburn is, they're able to spread the minutes around. I think the highest minutes anybody played was Broome with 25. So they're going to feel really good going into tomorrow against Mississippi State, which knocks off Tennessee. But now it's to play their third game in 3 days. Like, I think you feel it. I mean, you don't necessarily feel it after 2 games in 2 days, but I think you definitely start feeling it 3 games in 3 games in 3 days. So I think Auburn should go out and just get after Mississippi State early and just try to overwhelm them with their depth and the way they play defense.
Yeah. Mississippi State's going to bruise you up, though, man. They're going to be very, very physical. So
Yeah.
my attitude was you got to be really careful on the defensive end to get a body on a body,
No doubt, no doubt. And it is one of those teams that Auburn doesn't necessarily match up as well with as maybe South Carolina and some other teams. Kentucky's still in it, so that's another one that Auburn doesn't necessarily match up well with. But, Auburn took care of business against State at home after losing there earlier in the season, so they're going to have some confidence there, but they're also going to come in knowing that State is a team that can beat them, has beat them before, and that they're going to have to play well and try to avoid, the foul trouble and try to avoid, Auburn can play with emotion. They can pick up technicals. They had, I think, 1 or 2 against South Carolina, but to try to avoid those as much as possible.
Yeah, KD doing KD things, I guess. I guess he was mouthing off at a ref, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he kept on talking. I mean, he would not stop talking. He was upset about something, but I never did pick out exactly what it was.
Were you surprised at just how good Auburn was today? I mean, they've been playing good basketball, but I thought South Carolina would give them at least a little resistance. Nothing today.
I was surprised because I knew after Auburn beat South Carolina by 40 at home that, South Carolina probably comes with a little bit of chip on their shoulder. I thought South Carolina had an advantage with 1 game under their belt at that arena, right? They were used to the rims and the floor and had a little momentum. So, I thought that was – I expected South Carolina to get off to a better start. And Auburn did a great job of playing defense and keeping them from doing that. And I thought that was key. I thought they played great defense all game. South Carolina shot, 26, 27% from the floor. I mean, it was consistently just really good defense throughout.
Yeah, they played great defense. Got their hands on a lot of balls, used their defense to kind of get in transition offense. I think they finished 17 points in transition against 2 for South Carolina, so that was a big point.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, and Auburn was really good in the paint, too. I think they were plus 20 in the paint, maybe?
Dominated in the paint, yeah. And that was just impressive on their half. It's hard to pick out anything that you're concerned about coming out of that game. I just thought Auburn played good in every area. And if they keep that effort up defensively, I think they've got a great shot to win this thing. I really do. This is a team that's playing its best basketball at the end of the year. This is the first time Auburn's done this in a while. They've been one and done in this tournament, I think, for 2 consecutive years, if I'm not mistaken. They've sort of bounced out of the NCAA tournament fairly early here recently, but I think this is a team that can do some good things here in the postseason.
Yeah, 0 for 3 from the free throw line in the second half, which is weird because you don't hit a free throw and you only get 3. And I don't think it was an officiating problem, Brian.
Yeah, I think they put it on cruise control a bit there, if I'm being honest. And I do think, Pearl said it, that the officials do let teams play a little bit more physical in the postseason. I think we saw that in today's game. I think we saw that with Tennessee earlier in Mississippi State. And Mississippi State, like you said, is a very physical team. So Auburn's going to have to finish through contact against State because they're not going to pick up a whole bunch of fouls.
That's right. They weren't in the other games either. So just got to pay attention, man. And then if they can do that, they can get into these this final, man. It'd be sweet.
It would be. And, I like Auburn's chances a lot tomorrow against State, and we'll see who they see in the finals. I think this game for the top 4 seeds is always the toughest in some ways just because that team coming in usually has some momentum and only has 1 game under the belt most of the time. So we'll see how it goes for Alabama and Kentucky tonight.
I want to see Kentucky lose by 75 points to somebody. So hopefully the Auburn Tigers can
Maybe it'll be Auburn.
I know. It'd be fucking terrific. I would love it.
Yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate you keeping up with the Vanderbilt game. You've been a busy young man today, so I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah. I actually went out to halftime's bar here in Auburn and drank a couple beers and watched the game and filed my story from there. And
boy, that's how you do it.
Yes, sir.
Well done.
Yes, sir. Yep.
All right.
Had a good time.
I'll check you tomorrow then.
Peace out, everybody.
See you, brother. There he is. B-Matt obviously is not in Nashville. We have to, we can't just send the whole crew, so we sent Stulty and Henri up there, and they have been providing dispatches from the Bridgestone Arena. We also have our photographer, Robin Kahn, is up there as well. So we've got 3 of our crew there. I'm trying to figure out, is Stoop up trying to see if he could pull for a is he looking to pull for a Prem League team? Was that what I read? Horace was saying Stoop up join me with Man City. Horace, I thought you were a Spurs fan. Maybe I just got that mixed up in my head. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. GW says, just stopping by to hit the like button for my boy JGT. We boys, we friends, we boyfriends. Wait, GW, what? I appreciate anyway. I mean, we could be like theoretical Eskimo brothers. Could be. Well, maybe not. But in a certain different way, in the upside down world, maybe. You know what I'm talking about. Remnant said free throws is a concern. Typically, it's not for Auburn. Auburn's usually a very good free throw shooting team, but tonight, not great. 9 of 17 from the free throw line. And again, it was 0 for 3 in the second half, which is alarming. Not only that you go 0 for 3, but also that you only get 3 attempts. And I didn't necessarily think it was because the officiating sucked. I just think Auburn wasn't attacking the rim. And it's fine. When you're shooting 50%, when you're hitting your mid-ranges, when Denver's out there shooting threes and he's hitting them, who cares? No big deal. But I thought Dylan got fouled a couple times when he was shooting in the paint. I thought Janai got fouled a few times they didn't call. So, whatever. Whale Driver says Forest, Nottingham Forest, Americans are on their team. I can give you the really quick Premier League rundown. I mean, Man City is the power now. Although, to me, they're newcomers on the block. When I first started watching the Prem League 21 years ago, the Citizens were in the championship. They had been relegated. So, to me, they're kind of like newcomers to the Prem League. They got a big investor, and now they bought a lot of players, and they win a lot of damn games. They got a great manager. They got a lot of good fans. They're the power. Liverpool, working class people, very, very loyal to their team. Team tends to fight very hard. They're probably, it may be at the end of a peak right now. They have a great coach who's about to retire or leave, who's very likable and very fun. They're a great team. But this is probably a bad time to start liking Liverpool because I think they're going to fall off a little bit. Although if they get the coach from Bayer Leverkusen, Xabi Alonso, things might, I wouldn't necessarily feel that way anymore. I'm a Man United fan. Man United used to be the power, and now they've been kind of shitty. Well, not shitty, but just not very good for probably 10 years now. We had a great manager, and he retired, and we really haven't been able to find anybody who can keep it going. Kind of like the Cowboys. Remember when the Cowboys used to be really good, and they won all those titles, and now they just really haven't been able to find another Jimmy Johnson or another Tom Landry. It's just been kind of like Mike McCarthy's. I mean, it's okay, I guess. Whatever. I mean, like, they're okay, but and then you got Spurs. Spurs have great fans, kind of upper classish people. Always have a good team. Never win shit, but they're always good. Brand new stadium. Cool part of town in London. You got Chelsea. Chelsea to me are like super rich people. A lot like Man United, where they had a really nice run about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and now they've kind of fallen off. And they've got a new owner, and he's trying to get his shit together. And they've got a lot of talent, but they can't get a coach to put it all together, and they just kind of suck. But they're like middle table. And then you've got Arsenal. Arsenal's, to me, like old money. They've been probably good for the longest period of time. Like they were good like in the Stone Ages. The Queen is, well, she's passed away now, but the Queen was an Arsenal fan. To me, it's like very just a big-time team that's always good. They don't necessarily win right now, but I have seen them win. They have a really good coach right now. They're really good right now. Now's a good time to be an Arsenal fan. If you're jumping on, that's probably a team to consider. So those are the ones that have a chance to win, although Spurs never actually win. And then somebody mentioned Nottingham Forest because they got some Americans. Leeds used to have Americans, but I think it's less now. Chelsea used to have Americans, and it's less now. I feel like American Prem League people always have a team, and then they have like a friendly team, like a team that they're kind of pulling for in the bottom half. For me, it used to be West Brom because they had Lukaku back in the day, and I always pulled for them. But West Brom's kind of fallen off. They're not even in the Prem anymore, so it's pretty much just United. I hope I got that right. You guys are thinking. Terrence is in the house. We love Terrence being here. Whale Driver, thank you for reminding me. The ads, that's something that they added. Hold on. Wait, what? I think I can skip the ads. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there will be no ads for the next 10 minutes. I can promise you that. That's something they added, and I have to opt out of the ads, and I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm going to get that switched. But I have to physically stop the ads, and so I just turned them off for 10 minutes. We'll probably only go about 10 more minutes tonight, so we won't see any more. I apologize for that. Hopefully I'll get that worked out. Let's see. Oh, by the way, was it somebody said, Ross says NUFC, Newcastle. I should have. Yes, Newcastle as well. Newcastle has a huge fan support, kind of in the north part of the country. I really like St. James's Park. It's a cool-ass stadium. They're a very likable team. Like, they don't have any dickheads on their team. They don't really win anything, but they challenge. Eddie Howe, who's their manager, I really like him a lot. He used to be at Bournemouth, which is like, imagine if Destin had a football team in the NFL. Like, that's what Bournemouth was like, and he was like managing with no money, and they still were pretty good. And then now he coaches at Newcastle, and they're a lot better with him there. Right? They're a very likable team, and they got a lot of fans up there. So I should always include Newcastle, and I forgot. My friend Will from high school, lifelong friend of mine, is a big Newcastle fan. My apologies for leaving them out, my G. CJ says he's a Man City guy. Hey, that's cool, man. I want to talk shit at you, but I'm not going to. Runner24 says he's out. Dinner has arrived. Appreciate you, Runner. Very, very supportive of what we do here. A great chatter, a great caller. And we appreciate you on the bunk as well. So, bon appetit, and I will see you tomorrow, G. Let's see. CJ says Etihad is better than all, meaning that's their stadium. And Ross says Auburn of the North. That is fair. They're definitely the best team in the north part of the country. I would say Sunderland might argue that, but they shouldn't. And GW says, JGT putting us on commercial breaks for ad revenue. Bro, hold on, man. I told you. I did not mean for that. That was something they opted me in without me agreeing to it, okay? That is not how I've done it. This is probably my 300th show, and I've never done that to you guys, so. We'll cut that off. I'll knock that thing off one way or another. I'll find a way to do it. Oh, boy, my chat went all the way back to the top. Big Mole says those shots look delicious. Are you talking about these shots right here? These shots of I'm just sipping, bro. Terrence says, shout out to the Drain for tolerating the Prem League talk. Yeah, I was just kind of jabbering. Because somebody had asked, I think, in the chat was mentioning that somebody was looking for a team. So I was just trying to keep it real for them. Give them the best view of that. Again, the Auburn Tigers victorious by 31 over the South Carolina Gamecocks today in the, I guess technically a third round, the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament, and have progressed to the semifinals where they will take on Mississippi State, which upset Tennessee today 73-56. A team that Auburn and Mississippi State split the series this year. Auburn lost by 6 in Starkville earlier in the season, then won by 15. GW, I see you, bro. I see you. Then won by 15 in the Nev in a game that, like, Auburn just kind of, like, played it out at the end, really. I mean, I think Auburn had a great first half in that one and then just kind of dicked around in the second half, which is fine. You know, whatever, it happens. So you feel like Auburn's got probably an 80% chance to win that game tomorrow. I think Mississippi State that will be their third game in 3 days. They'll be a little winded. No, it'll be their whatever. Let me take a look at the bracket. I got to look at the bracket, guys. I get a little lost. So Mississippi State beat LSU, beat Tennessee. So, yeah, third game in 3 days, and it'll be Auburn's second game. So you think Auburn, and Jay Head talked about that when he was on the air, that Auburn's depth is a positive all the time, but particularly when you start wearing down after playing consecutive days like this. Auburn should have a nice advantage there. Mississippi State does not play a particularly deep group. So, yeah, I would say Auburn's got an 80% chance to win that one, maybe more. I certainly expect Auburn to win that game, and then that would probably mean that they would face off, but at least potentially with Kentucky. But they've had their hands full so far, at least, with Texas A&M tonight. So we will see how that goes. All right, I'll probably wrap it up there. The Auburn Tigers, again, playing Mississippi State tomorrow at noon Central Time on the ESPNs. And we will be – I'm not sure how we're going to handle that tomorrow. There was some chatter that we might stay live for the whole game and just kind of come and go, maybe like halftime and postgame, obviously. Not sure how we're going to do that yet, but kind of keep your eyes on the channel, and I'll try to figure out what I need to do for that because I think I got to change some graphics if we're going to do that. And I haven't done a true live show for an entire basketball game since 2021 maybe, so I don't know. I got to figure out how to handle that. But regardless, we will be on the air at some point tomorrow. CJ updates us to say that Texas A&M is up 3 on the UK Wildcats, currently on ESPN. And Melee's got Auburn winning this one by 15 against the Mississippi State Bulldogs tomorrow. I would be on board with that. Yeah, that'd be great. To keep the streak alive of 26 consecutive wins by double digits, which is insanity. All right, guys, let's make great decisions out there tonight. I'm going to have a little dinner with the administrative assistant and Becky and Cuz from across the street, and then I'm probably going to wrap her up and get ready for what should be a fun day of basketball tomorrow to see how this is breaking down. So I appreciate you guys being here with me today. We will see each other again soon. Till then, keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Let's make great decisions tonight. And appreciate y'all. Peace.